I'm at my graduation. This is my meal. It's a cherry jello. This is my graduation for the Master of Science in ECO-centric Worldview. I felt so much pride yesterday for ending well, it's really a socio-cybernetic project, but that's not something I share with you guys. But I also feel that I've created enough butterfly effects with my Master of Science in Egocentric Worldview that it deserves a graduation. So this is it. My graduation. It's a video that'll be one of 4 that'll be posted in late June 2024, which is a day, I know what I mean, that I turn 10 years old.
That's dark, but man, does it sing.
Aaron, to academia, in a world of ever more compromise and pettiness, the last refuge of ideas and idealism for their own sake.
Here.
I thought that there was supposed to be 2 of you.
Professor Schuster, he'll be arriving a little later this afternoon. He had a graduate seminar to wrap up. I gotta warn you, though. Dick's a little bent out of shape over the route you've taken towards this degree. He's afraid it might set some kind of precedent.
Oh?
Yeah, I don't want to knock him. You know, the guy was a tiger in his time, a real monument. I don't want to poison the well.
I know what I'm saying.
What I say, question of the hour. Tell your mama, tell your pa, gonna send you back to Arkansas, hey. Arkansas. Why ask Brother Ray what he meant by that? Doesn't art speak for itself? I mean, you analyze something too much, you just end up grinding it in the dust. Sure don't feel like dancing, I'll tell you that much. Who was I kidding? A sheepskin on the wall. Yeah, right. I should never open that matchbook. We're looking for people who like to think. What I say, Somebody tell me, please.
Excuse me? Deconstruction. Aaron's Basilica is holy seed. It's why he's gaga over your Casey at the bat analysis and why I, as you say, have reservations. Look, obviously Thayer, writing in 1888, couldn't have predicted the collapse of the Soviet Union and the rise of terrorism.
Of course not, it's just a metaphor.
What's the metaphor? The scalpel of which irrevocably cleaves the work from the artist's intent. God forbid we should pay homage to a poem as a poem and not just a code. Look, you're a bright fellow, Mr. Stevens.
Comparative literature.
But I have standards to uphold. Now, I know you don't have any preliminary degrees, and fact is, if I hadn't been bullied by my youth-addled confreres, I would have cut this off a long time ago. I have no intention of handing out a diploma for glibness, even erudition. Come on, let's get that cup of coffee.
Is it the crazed Ahab, obsessed to the exclusion of his humanity with bringing down this great white whale to its knees? Isn't that the whole paradox of colonialism right there in a nutshell? The benevolent imperialist, the hubris of the first world, the Marine corporal with the Zippo and Nam who had to burn down the village in order to save it. Shall I continue?
I suffered.
No. I think that's dead on.
I suffered some of the
Fine,
victimization
and give an example
of having tiny things in common with people that have heard Vietnamese people when I travel there. So the trauma of not growing up and interacting with other social creatures accelerates not growing up in the Anthropocene and traumas. You know, in my master's degree, the first cohort, Master of Arts in Sustainable Leisure Management, one of the toxic behaviors from a few of my staff, I don't think that's a Freudian slip. It doesn't make sense if it is. The faculty is, they would actually talk lateral violence against others in their own class that we were in with. Like, they couldn't confront their own conflicts like grown-ups among each other. And by the way, debate is required in academia, and debate is conflict. But the way they were role modeling it was backdoor, behind the back politics. So it's hard to admire them for that behavior back then. And it's hard to trust them to actually do the right thing when challenged to do the right thing, such as properly defining sustainability.
Nietzsche's Übermensch. Yeah, I had the notion that the world's come to depend on Uncle Sam to solve all its problems, just like the fans at Mudville expect Casey to knock it out of the park every time he steps up.
Hermeneutic license at its best.
In one fell swoop, you and your carjacking protege there have put 2,000 years of accumulated knowledge into a rhetorical austerizer and grinded it all into oblivion.
Ah, the last gasp of the dead white European male. Or as I prefer to call it, the pale penis people.
Oh, listen to that.
PPP.
Anything that smacks of, reverence for tradition or the support of objective standards falls prostrate to the almighty god of political correctness.
Ah, so now the real agenda comes out, huh? Determined to hang on to this department chair to the bitter end, aren't
Be
you?
a few more years, buddy boy. You better get used to those faculty
Politics.
apartments. You guys. I throw out Jane Austen. All she did is validate imperialism. Who needs Shakespeare? An elitist punster at best. And all the while, we're shamelessly pandering to the loudest of the disenfranchised. It's college through a boombox.
Well done, Dick. Bigotry with panache.
You son of a bitch!
Come on,
You
you
son of a bitch!
It's only literature, for goodness sake.
So-called grown-ups. Don't give them wine and post-secondary degrees together. It doesn't get better. There's another little scene, and then we'll show you how Chris decided to hand in his thesis defense in a different way, based on his knowledge and skill sets relating to the human condition. Shakespeare believed in his own reputation, so he was strong, so he did something reckless. It's a funny scene.
No! Shake it too hard!
Am I slain? Oh, Shakes, talk to me.
Tis a far, far better thing I do.
Shakes,
Yes, Hodge.
it's Dickens.
Smoking doesn't help either.
Damn you!
We've lost a lot of art and a lot of science because people primates usually wouldn't grow up. After my bachelor's degree, and I'm talking years after, I would still have nightmares that I'm at university, and that it's like the end of a semester, and I hadn't started doing any of the readings or homework, and I had an essay due, and that was stressful, and I could even look at my diploma and know why he's still having these dreams. When I was frustrated with my own immature PhD professors in my master's, I got frustrated, took a break, and in a geology class the first year I took, which I'm very happy I did, because I wanted to learn about that stuff too, and there was a little bit of Gaia theory, and it went by so quick I didn't expect it. I was surprised. I wish I could relive that moment. And but I also supported a student who gave me a letter of reference, and I showed that letter of reference to my PhD professors later. Say this is what it means, empowering the next generation of scholars. And in her letter she says, that she doesn't think she would have finished university if I hadn't been her classmate supporting her in one of her classes, and how that butterfly affected her entire academic career. Now, I didn't have anybody like that in my bachelor's degree, and I am quite proud of myself taking a break using my knowledge of the human condition and psychology to have helped another one as a way to redeem myself while surrounded by people that don't walk the talk, that are part of the problems that they discussed. So in this last scene that I hope I'll be able to not have blocked on YouTube, because it's important learning, and I am a learning specialist, and I'm finding creative ways, using both my sentience and my sapience, to present to you things that you may miss even if you've seen this episode. So these are two academics that hold the hard work final decision of Chris getting his master's degree in comparative literature or not. One was always supportive of him. The one on the left here, putting on his glasses, or putting off his glasses. And the other one questions himself a bit. So one is sure that he's open-minded, and the other is not, but he might be becoming a bit more open-minded. But both of them have pathologies, and they don't know it. So Chris actually had to give them some tough love to actually make sure they got the message that he deserved his diploma.
Maybe I should call the station.
Hi. Chris wanted me to give you both a message. He apologizes, but he asked that you meet him at Minifield Field.
Meet him? I don't understand. Does he intend to complete his orals or not?
I think so. He asked that you bear with him.
Frankie, you wanted to see us?
Please.
So Chris incorporated other skill sets he has, because he has got a lot. Because when you have confidence in certain things, you take on more, it builds your confidence. You become able to think about more than just the topic of comparative literature, for example. And you're able to tap into many things as a polymath or a systems thinker. And I'm not saying he's at super high levels, but I'm saying that he's mostly been on a journey, and he took some really deep dives, dark hole of regression from time to time, and came back up from them. And really, there's not really any mentors that he had in the show. He was his own co-pilot as well as pilot that decided which roads he would always go on. And he's an admirable person or character.
What's the meaning of this, Mr. Stevens?
What's the meaning? That's a good question. Call it art, call it truth, call it baseball.
Well, I take it you're unwilling to finish your oral examination.
Well, that's up to you. I just started thinking after our conversation at Maurice's the other night, maybe I was wrong about old Casey.
Well, I see no need for second guessing. Your dissertation was aces, Chris.
Yeah, maybe. I started taking another swing at it, so to speak. You know, try to get at the heart of what Thayer was trying to say.
I thought you were past authorial reverence.
Professor Martin, you're up.
What?
Take the bat. You're the catcher, Professor Schuster.
I will not.
You will not? That's sad. Eugene, you mind?
You got it.
You're serious?
Not afraid of whiffing, are you?
Give me a break.
You don't know your way around a hanging curve, just say.
No, I should warn you. I batted .318 senior year of high school. All right, let's see your stuff.
There are times I told people that the two supervisors I had, they were kind of using excuses to kind of say they weren't a good fit for me, or they didn't want to be my thesis supervisor anymore. And the first person I asked, I knew was overly traditional. Now tradition, when it comes to having standards for achieving something, is good. But not keeping those same standards all the time, that's bad, because tradition creates stagnation. You know, because traditions are based on the times you live in, and they should be updated all the time.
10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded as he wiped them on his shirt. And now the leather-covered sphere came hurtling through the air. Now Casey stood a-watching with haughty grandeur there. Close by the sturdy batsman, the ball unheeded sped. That ain't my style, said Casey.
Strike one.
The umpire said.
Wide by a mile.
With a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage shone. He stilled the rising tumult. He made the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the spheroid flew. But Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said,
Strike two. Stay out of it, Dick.
The sneer is gone from Casey's lips. His teeth are clenched in hate. He pounds with cruel vengeance, his bat upon the plate. Now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go. And now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow.
You're out of there.
Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out. That's what Casey at the Bat's about. That feeling that's in your gut.
Pretty big line out there, I guess.
So, I cry all the time. There's a lot of episodes of Northern Exposure that touch me. Sometimes I give up on knowing specifically what it is. I can do that, but I don't need to. Just crying makes me feel more human. And it makes me feel proud. It makes me feel proud to be able to be touched. And having reached that level of maturity that I don't try to bury it or hide it. It's who I am, is I'm a matured man. And if there are times that responsibility is on me, such as leadership or presenting a thesis defense, I'm at my best. And I can save my crying for later. But I don't bury it, because it's too important as soon as I get a chance. In times when it would be an obstacle, I'll save it for later, because those times later are part of that same experience you went through. You just have to kind of shift them in time a little bit and experience the whole thing the right way. I remember having that conversation with my tutor, saying, hey, this is what I'm experiencing in the Masters. And we're working on my thesis introduction draft, right? Fine-tuning it and polishing it more. And I wanted to add all my references later, just putting my little hints about what they were and how to refine them or just find them for the first time because they came from me. And that's a little bit ridiculous in academia. No, somebody said it before you. Yes. And even a lot of things I say somebody said before, and a lot of things they said, we think they're the first, somebody said it before. But you know what is original is tying all these things together, or not just saying it, but understanding it, demonstrating it, explaining it, role modeling it, living it, walking that talk. Hey, you know, I never went to my graduation from Cégep, never went to my graduation from my bachelor's, never went for the master's diploma, because I did decide. And I'm not going to talk about the pros and cons, and I can tell you one of the reasons I decided to write that 26-page letter to fire my university is that I knew this would lead to a more challenging path for me, but I was ready to embrace it. And I knew it was the right thing to do. So the choice was kind of not that hard. I had to fire them instead of continuing and forcing them to kind of show up at a thesis defense where they would both be anxious. You know, whoever the thesis supervisors would have been, to actually ask a question that would show their own ignorance in the topics that they claimed from the beginning. Oh no, there's nothing you can do in this program. Except everybody wanted to avoid being my thesis supervisor because mine was actually about sustainability.
Please rise. When I call your names, please come forward and receive your diplomas, which are but symbols of your formidable achievements. Warren Boudreau, Baccalaureate, Department of Forestry. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Trina Petrakis, master's degree, wastewater management. Congratulations. Christopher Stevens, master's degree, comparative literature. Congratulations, Mr. Stevens.
Thanks, sir.
Norma Jolson, master's degree.
Chris, you don't know me because you don't exist. You're a fictional character. I exist. And people that have a chance to know me choose not to know me. So they can't be proud. They could only be proud if I act like clones of them, which I don't need that kind of pride or proudness. I'll have to look that one up. But I'm proud of myself. And this is an example of my graduation ceremony and thesis defense finale for the guy that not only created, but was the first and only student in my own Master of Science in Eco-centric Worldview. Good work.